Good morning, and welcome to lesson 15, lesson 15 in our study of the book of Judges. And we're going to do chapter 12, which is a short chapter, and there's really not a lot in this except for one major factor, and that is the illustration of how pride and anger and sibling rivalry can result in problems later on in life. Because this has to do with the dispute which developed between Jephthah and the men of Ephraim after the war was started between Jephthah and the Gileadites and the men of Ammon. Now, just as when Gideon was at war in a few chapters ago, the men from Ephraim came back and said, "Why did you not call us? Why did you not ask us to take part in this battle?" And Gideon had used some diplomacy and said that actually you had achieved some success and by capturing two of the kings, and this seemed to placate the people from Ephraim at the time. But Jephthah was not quite the diplomat. And this all had to do with the fact that Jephthah and Gideon were also members of the tribe of Manasseh, of one of the 12 tribes of Israel, the tribe of Manasseh, and the men of Ephraim were that of another tribe of Israel. But Ephraim and Manasseh were both descended from brothers, the sons of Joseph. And Manasseh was the firstborn of Joseph. Ephraim was the second, but it was to Ephraim who was given most of the benefits. And this was reflected in their attitude that they were the best tribe, that they felt that they had the most prestigious place and the most authority of the tribes of Israel. And in a book by Phil Moore, I want to read what they say about the Ephraimites. I just find it here for 1 second. I lost my place, so just pardon with me for a second. And it showed that it says, the Ephraimites reacted the same way to Gideon's victory over the Midianites in chapter 8. They loved the fact that their tribal name meant doubly fruitful. They loved the fact that Jacob had given the blessings of the firstborn to their ancestor Ephraim instead of to his elder brother Manasseh. They loved the fact that theirs was the tribe of Joshua, the tribe that hosted the tabernacle and the tribe that lay at the geographical heart of Israel. They loved their reputation as the leading tribe of Israel, but their actions spoke louder than their words. Jephthah points out that he called for their help to fight the Ammonites, but that they refused until they saw that victory was won. They were afraid to take a lead in the battle in case their foreign masters won the day and launched reprisals. So this is an indication of the fact that the tribe of Ephraim had the pride, they had the prestige, they had the desire to be first, but they didn't really have the courage and the fortitude to take that first place position. And this is what happens when the men of Ephraim gathered together and crossed over towards Zaphron, this is in chapter 12, and said to Jephthah, "Why did you cross over to fight against the people of Ammon and did not call us to go with you?" Their indignation was such that they felt they should have been first, although they didn't respond to the call when it was actually made, because Jephthah said to them, "My people and I were in a great struggle, and when I called you, you did not deliver me out of their hands." So this is a typical example of how both pride and indignation can lead to problems among people among brothers, and among peoples of different nations. And Jephthah was not the diplomat that Gideon was. When he saw that, he said, "When I saw you would not deliver me, I took my life in my hands and crossed over against the people of Ammon. And the Lord delivered them into my hand." So then he says to the people of Ephraim, "Why have you come to me now to fight against me?" So there was a fight which developed because of this indignation, because of this situation between the pride of Ephraim and the actions of the tribe of Manasseh. There was now this fight. And of course, if the men of Ephraim didn't have the courage and the fortitude to fight at the initial call, fight against the Ammonites, they probably should not have started a fight with the victor over the Ammonites, Jephthah, and the Gideonites. So anyway, as this happened, there was a fight, and the men of Gilead defeated Ephraim because they said, "You Gileadites," because the Ephraimites had said, "You Gileadites, you fugitives of Ephraim, among the Ephraimites and among the Manassites." The way the situation was that there was a tribe, part of the tribe of Ephraim on both sides of the Jordan River. There was also a tribe of the Manassites on both sides of the Jordan River. And it was felt that there was an intermingling because of the fact that some people from one tribe had gone into mingled with the tribe of the others. So the Gileadites seized the fjords of the Jordan before the Ephraimites arrived. So once the war began, the crossing of the Jordan was seized by Jephthah's men before the other side could arrive. And when they went to cross over, they asked the Ephraimites to pronounce a particular word, Shibboleth. But because of some dictum difficulty, they could not pronounce Shibboleth, they pronounced Sibboleth. And this was a way to distinguish one group from the other. In fact, the word shibboleth has now come back into the English language as a means of determining which side you're on, or which part or person you promote, you agree with. It's come into the English language as such. This was not something that was unusual. During the Second World War, there were some particular words that the Germans used to help distinguish whether people were actually Jewish or of some other dialect, because these words could not be pronounced properly either. And as a result of this mispronunciation, the German people the Nazis could determine whether the people they were interviewing were actually someone they wanted to control or someone who could go free. So this idea is not something that's new, and we all know that there are dialects in different areas, even of Nova Scotia, which distinguish one person from another. So this is what the Gideonites and Jephthah did when they controlled the passageways across the Jordan. They used this word to distinguish whether these people who were trying to pass were actually Ephraimites or not. And if they could not pronounce the word properly, they were considered that they were Ephraimites and then would be taken out and would be executed. And it says that there fell at this time 42,000 Ephraimites. So this all resulted from this quarreling of pride and of indignation between two tribes. Perhaps it started because of the fact of the way the blessing was given way back at the time of Joseph. And this also indicates how what may be seemingly insignificant or not important at the time can lead to great consequences in later years. So there was a war between the two tribes, and it also indicated the fact that how far the culture of the Israelites people had devolved. They were now fighting among themselves as well as fighting external enemies. Because if they had followed the laws of God and did what God asked them to do, this never would have developed. So this shows how much indignation and anger and pride can cause problems between both brothers and relatives, siblings, and actually peoples. Now, when this was completed, and apparently Jephthah again was victorious, it says that Jephthah just ruled Israel for 6 years, and then he died. And the rest of the chapter gives just 3 more judges. There was Ibzan of Bethlehem. Now this was not considered by most people to be the Bethlehem of Judea. This was another Bethlehem that was mentioned in Joshua 19:15, where it says it was shortly about 10 miles north of Megiddo. But this was Ibzan of Bethlehem. It says he had 30 sons and 30 daughters. He had a large family. And this was used to form alliances with neighboring peoples. And it says he judged Israel 7 years and was buried at Bethlehem. And then there's Elon the Zebulunite, who judged Israel for 10 years. And he died and was buried. And then there was Ebdon, the son of Heliph, who judged Israel again for a number of years. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rose on 70 young donkeys. This was put in to illustrate the wealth of these people, the wealth of these judges of Israel, as well as the fact that some of these sons and daughters acted as judges in certain disputes in different areas of the country. But these 3 men died and were buried after short periods of time. And it does not say what they accomplished, if they accomplished anything at all. But during these periods of time, there was some relative peace in the land. After the fight between the Manassans and Ephraimites, peace relatively reigned during the rest of the time of Jephthah and during this time of these subsequent 3 judges. So this sort of shows the fact that overall the culture and the situation in Israel was deteriorating even further. Now we were fighting one tribe against another. And now the judges were lasting only a short period of time. So now, next time we come together, we'll get into chapter 13 and start the story of Samson. But this will be done after the holidays in the first part of January. So there'll be no lesson for the next week or so. And then we'll get back for the first part of January with chapter 13 and the start of the story of Samson. So thanks for watching. I know this is rather a short lesson, but thanks for watching. Have a Merry Christmas and hope to see you in the new year. Bye for now.